Well, welcome back everybody. Today we're going to be doing a picture I've decided to call the Moonlight Hares. It was a request by someone, so I'm sorry I can't remember your name. But we're going to start this picture today. It's nice and simple. It's an 8" by 8", or I think that's 20 centimetres by 20 centimetres, but don't quote me on it. And we're starting off some really dark blue here. What we're going to do is I'm basically going to put in all the sky in that background today, so we've got something to work on. So all I've done is lay the blue across the skyline, and as normal I like to go right across everything, and here you can see me cutting up past the ears and then just going back round following the line. Because I'm using merino here, I'm making sure I'm felting it in well, but you could do this whole picture with carded wool if you want to. It's just this is what I happen to have. And I'm just using my needle here to pull back so that I've got the line to follow for the ears. I always like to draw my pictures in first because it gives me a proper sense of the composure of the picture. I think this actually would also be not a bad picture to do if you're a relative beginner. I would say not a complete beginner, but you could do this. You don't have to get as technical as this with this as me. And as always, I probably will cover up quite a lot of what I've drawn, but I always like to have the composition in place so that I know where I'm going with things. And it doesn't matter to me once I've stared at it this much if I cover it up. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start to put the halo around the moon, because it's going to be a full glowing moon. So I want to make some kind of halo, which is why I haven't carried the dark blue right across the whole thing. And here I'm just mixing a lighter shade of blue. You see, it's not too much of a difference, but it's enough that you can see it. Now we'll keep this going around the whole moon. As I go, that changes a bit, but it's the same basic colour, the same basic thing. And this, because I'm trying to make it glow, I'm doing layers of starting off with a darker colour and bringing it forward to a lighter blue. This is my dog brush I like to use. Just mixing it together. You can see what I mean, it's a subtle difference, it's just that bit lighter. And once again I will go round the whole moon with this colour. Remembering as always to do it in thin layers so that I do see some of the other blue coming through it. That way it'll blend better. I don't really want very hard lines between each colour. And I will carry this on back all the way around the moon again. What I do as well when I'm doing this is I make sure I've got the, what should I say, the looser ends, the uneven ends laying down onto the areas I'm doing it, because that way it blends even better. I don't have a sharp, what I do is I cut my wool sometimes, but I don't want that sharp edge blending into the other things because I will get a sharp line. I'm hoping that makes sense. So I don't want a sharp line, I want this very wispy ends to it. That's the word I'm looking for, wispy. And as always, make sure you needle felt it all in well. and I'm back to blending the blue I had before with some more white, and you can see here it's just a lighter colour again. This one I'm going to eventually take across the whole moon. So although I started laying it like this, I did eventually take the whole moon because I came to the decision that when I put the white on for the moon, the weird green felt background colour I've got might show through. So I decided to cover the whole background in this colour, and that way if it does show through the white, it's just going to look like some shading on the moon. So I made extra work for myself really here. There you can see what I mean. Because this background felt that I had is perfectly fine, and I never end up seeing it through, but sometimes it can be a bit awkward. Oh, this is just something to do around with. This is actually a piece of orgonite I made. Don't worry about that, but it's a piece of orgonite I made. But it was the perfect size for being the size of the moon that I wanted. So I just used it as a template thing and just added some white all the way around the outside to hopefully get the moon as round as I can get it. If you go carefully here, you shouldn't, go into anything. You shouldn't break your needle. But as I felt the moon in place as well, this outline does shift a bit, so I will have to go back later and recircle my moon a bit. But as a guide, it's really good. So have the moon whatever size you like, just find something round to put there. And this is the merino, but I'm just breaking it up so it's much finer and scuffing it around. So it more or less ends up like carded wool anyway. And I'm just going to fill the inside of the moon now. You can see how bright it looks because you've got that behind it, those different colours, giving it that kind of halo. And here I'm adding some craters and things onto the moon. You could get really technical and go find a picture of the moon itself and copy that. I was being a bit lazy and I just decided to plonk some down wherever I fancied. Hopefully you can't hear the background traffic. There's odd bits every so often. I bought a new microphone so I don't sound like Kermit the Frog, but I'm not sure how much it picks up. So hopefully I can edit anything weird out. I'm quite pleased with looking at that moon. It looks quite nice now. I did think I'd made the craters a little dark, so I went back in and put some lighter bits over it. Not to cover it completely, I just put some in to just lighten up areas of it. And you can see even there the moon is just very slightly now starting to go out of shape a bit, but it's very easily sorted out later. And everything I'm doing now is just the start of it. I may go back in at the end of the picture and adjust things slightly. It'll only be minor things. Hopefully. And this bit here, when I did look at a picture of the moon, it seems to have this grey area radiating out from a central point. So I kind of liked the idea of that because I thought it would help make the moon look round. So that's why I added these bits in. They're very, very pale though. I didn't want them to stand out like the craters. Depending on how complicated this picture becomes, I'm hoping to make this a two-part series. It might end up in three because next episode I'm going to do the hares, and depending on how fiddly they become, they may be an episode in its own, or I may be able to do the hares and all the background and foreground in the next one. but I don't want to skimp out on the hairs. I'd like you to be able to see how to do them, or how I do them, because otherwise there's no help to you if I just whiz through them. Hopefully you can see the very light bits that are just going on now. But because it curves around, it definitely does give it more of an illusion of being a circle. Or a sphere, I should say, I suppose. These are very fine wispy bits. And as I thought it's a magical picture, sort of, so I thought we'd best have some stars. So I just popped some down. I may go back in later actually with these stars at the end, and I might see if I've got any fibre that's got a bit of sparkle in it, and I might put a bit of sparkle on the stars. Not sure yet. I don't know whether I've actually got anything in my bit of a weird stash in my bag. And now I've started to work on the background tree on this side. I rummaged through my greens and I found a kind of muted green which I liked, so I thought I'll do that side, and then on the other side I'll do something a little brighter. But because the hairs are on this side, I want them to be the focus, not the tree behind it. So I wanted to keep it sort of muted and dull. But you can see also how I work with my pictures. I always do the background and then I work forward so that each thing is sitting on top of the last thing. There are odd exceptions I do, but that's generally how I work, because I don't want to have to go back in and work round something. And here I'm just adding some lighter, still again muted, but lighter bits to catch the moonlight on the tree, give some form to the tree. I'm not intending to do anything really technical on the trees because I just don't want them to be part of the picture you're looking at, that you're going to linger on. And in the moonlight you probably wouldn't see any leaves and stuff anyway, so these are more impressions of trees. And you'll see on this side it's going to get lighter. The tree eventually will be a little bit brighter, so it keeps you in the picture, keeps you it's something to look at, but your eyes don't wander off out of the picture on that side. And the nice thing about this as well is that even though I drew in my background, my picture originally, I can be very free with this. I can put things anywhere I like. I just knew that over this side was going to be a tree, but I don't have to get all hung up on what it was going to look like or anything. I've started off this tree with the same muted shades that I had on the other side, and I'm trying to make sure I think about the fact that there's going to be shade in this tree, so that where the depth of the tree is, where you can't see the leaves. I don't want the tree to look flat. This is why I'm actually plonking down bits that aren't all joined together. I'm just thinking as I go on this bit. So there you can see I've got darker parts of the green. I've just mixed it in with some black and some medium, the same as on the other side, so the picture's coherent. So I've got similar colours, and then I'm going in with some brighter bits, which is where the moon would catch it. And it also starts to give some shape to the tree. Because I'm not being technical here, it's simply I'm just thinking about somewhere where the light might catch the tree, and anywhere I think the light might get it, I just put a bit of light greens. So it's just where the light might get it, it's nothing too overthinking it. And as always, if you don't like it being wool, you can pull it back off again. So you can always be brave and then change it later. You can also see here what I mean by, if I'd put these bright highlights on the side with the rabbit, you would have been looking past the rabbit to the tree, which is not what I want to happen. So this is why I've kept that side mute and this side brighter. This bit I'm putting in now as well is going to be a hill in the background, or the bank, the grassy bank going up behind the rabbit. But all this, the grass and things that I'm putting in now, will have a lot more detail put onto it later. At the moment I'm just literally putting in all the background and all the basic areas so that I know what I'm working with. And then the fun begins in the next episode, really, where you start to put mushrooms, well, toadstools, and all that kind of stuff as well. It doesn't look like it here, obviously, because I've edited the video, but I do felt all this down very well. And the blue that I've just put in by the rabbit, that's going to be like a misty background bit, and that was just a little bit of the pale blue and white, not the same as the sky, because I don't want it to be that. It's going to be somewhere where I was imagining like the moisture in the air would be catching the moonlight, and you won't see a lot of it. My plan is that's obviously in the background, and then the toadstools will be in front, so it'll just be a little wispy stuff that you can see through the toadstools. Or the endless little bits that stick up. Here I'm just defining the hill so I know it's separate from the tree. I couldn't help myself, I had to plop in a few bits and pieces. I'm a fiddler, I can't leave things alone. And I don't like to leave my picture in a weird place in my mind, so I knew I was going to have to leave this for a couple of days, and I wanted to be able to come back to it seeing the next stage. And if I'd left it just dull and flat, it would have annoyed me, so this is why I had to go in and fiddle these bits in now. One of my many foibles. I have put in the description box below a link to the original drawing of this picture, so hopefully if it works you should be able to just go and click on it and download the drawing if you'd like to do this picture the same as me. So feel free to help yourself to it. There you see, I'm thinking about what I'm doing next here, what works and what doesn't. I spend a lot of time just staring at the picture and trying to put what's in my head onto the paper or onto the felt and trying to make them work together. This is just some very wispy lighter bits as well. Again, a lot of this is going to be covered up, so it doesn't matter too much. I'm not going in for making it look detailed and all that stuff. I'm just actually just getting some colour values down. This is going to be the end of the first part of the Moonlight Hares. If you've enjoyed it, please don't forget to give me a like and a subscribe, and I will see you for part 2 when we'll be doing the hares and maybe some of the background and foreground. Till then, happy felting!